Hey guys, my name's Chris, I live in Australia, and today we're going to have a walk around through, weather's not so great, but I'm going to squeeze in a walk while I can. Up north Queensland right now, it's pretty bad weather, it's severe flooding and stuff, but a bit further down south, I've just got the overcast, so you can't complain about that in comparison. But today, I want to have a walk and talk with you guys. I like to treat these as kind of, we're just mates, having a walk, raising some topics. And I want to have a talk about what's happening in Australia right now, and more specifically we're going to start to breach into the topics of wealth inequality. And wealth inequality doesn't come just by itself. There's also, I'm going to call it the trifecta of incompetence that's occurring in Australia right now, which is causing a cost of living crisis, which is causing poverty, which is causing the working class Australia to put in 110% and not get any further ahead. So it is a systemic issue occurring right now, a trifecta of things, which is wealth inequality is occurring at a faster and faster rate. It's almost exponential at this point. Secondly, is government completely mismanaging how they spend money. They have no management at all. They're just blowing money out the wazoo right now, which is causing strain on the Australian taxpayer. And instead of us building wealth, we are now kind of copying it, just paying taxes and not getting further ahead. And the third part of that trifecta, of that little triangle of issues we're having right now, is government efficiency, or lack thereof of government efficiency. The government is not executing anything for the people right now. So we have wealth inequality increasing exponentially. We have government not being able to manage funds whatsoever, and we have government completely ineffective and inefficient at what they're trying to achieve. So let's start with wealth inequality. So when you turn on the mainstream news, Channel 9, Channel 7, whatever it might be, your 6 p.m. news, to see what's happening in the country, you're not going to see the reporters talking about wealth inequality. You're not going to see them up there saying, well, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. So as an idea where we're at right now, the top 10% of households in Australia, so the wealthiest 10%, they own 15 times as much wealth as the lowest 60% of Australians. So I'll say that again. The top 10% of households in Australia, the 10% wealthiest, own 15 times the wealth of the lowest 60%. That's nuts. That is a wealth divide. That is huge wealth divide. And it's progressively getting more and more. So it's exponential. I'd say it's exponential almost. The line's going up. So the rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer in this country. And the systems that we have in Australia is allowing that to occur. I guess maybe, who knows, maybe the rich make the rules over here. Is that the same in your country if you're tuning in from overseas? Do the rich make the rules? But it's not sustainable, and that's the thing. So maybe the wealthy say, well, it works for us, and you start hearing like, work harder, stop having avocados on toast, smashed avocados, or, as an idea, if I ate smashed avocados 5 days a week, it would not equate to 10% of what houses are increasing by each year in the country right now in capital cities. Wouldn't even come close. Smashed avocados is not the issue here, guys. It's at the point where the exponential growth in wealth for the minority is coming at the decay in quality of life for the majority. So the small amount exponentially getting richer, while the majority, 60% of Australia, decaying in quality of living standards in comparison. Like, we're talking 15 times, guys, 15 times more wealthy than the 60% lowest income earners in Australia. That's nuts. That's nuts. So there's government policies, tax regulations, everything in place to allow the wealthier to get wealthier in this country. And then when you start to look at housing as an example. So the Australian on the median income, which is $67,000 per year right now, cannot afford 90% of houses in Australia. Cannot afford 90%. So only 10% of housing is affordable to the person on the median income of $67,000 per year in Australia. Which means the wealthy who own housing can use equity to buy more and more housing. It's kind of like a monopoly game where it's skewed to The person who has the most wealth on the board can just keep buying more and more and more properties without worrying about it. Whereas those without the wealth don't stand a chance of competing in the game of Monopoly against them. But, you know, wealth is just one factor. There's also stocks, shares, superannuation balances, you know, just general assets across the board. But 60% of Australians are decaying further and further and further behind, while the top 10% are getting richer and richer, over 15 times more right now than what the lowest 60% is, and that's not right. That's not right. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And maybe you'll turn around and say, cool, well, let's just tax the hell out of the rich, and then we can spread that wealth around the country. Well, in theory, yeah, good idea, but the issue with that is when we look at government and government complete mismanagement of funds, and, you know, of course, efficiency as well. When we look at that, if the government can't control their spending, they can't spend sensibly, have common sense around how they're spending our tax-paying money, what's the point of giving them more money? It'll be like giving an arsonist fuel to throw onto a fire, and then giving him more fuel to throw onto a fire. You know, you can't just keep fueling the fire. At some point, the government needs to get more effective with how they spend their money. You can't just tax the rich and give all this extra money from the rich across to the government, and then they'll just misspend it all. And you know what? A lot of it's going to end back up in the hands of the rich anyway, so it just kind of cycles through this never-ending system. So until the government can spend money better, more effectively, more efficiently, there's, you know, little point in taxing the rich because they're just going to blow it. It's not going to help us. There's not going to be any benefit to us. So you need government spending to come in line at the same time that the rich start to see an increase in taxation for it. Guys, as an idea, this is how bad we are in Australia right now. So we're about to hit $1 trillion in debt. $1 trillion. 20 years ago, we were at $60 billion in debt. To put in perspective how much money our government's growing in debt across the last 20 years, that is the equivalent of the Australian government buying a $900,000 house every 10 minutes, 24/7 for the last 20 years straight. That's how quickly they are blowing our tax-paying money right now. They're just blowing it, mate. And not even just blowing it, accumulating debt. So they're spending more than we're even paying. And then that debt has interest. That interest starts to decay out, so there's less and less to go back into society. So our tax-paying dollar, if anything, it's just getting lost to interest, lost to financial institutes, lost to hedge funds, lost to wherever the government wants to do, if they're trading treasury bonds around, whatever. That money is disappearing, and it's not going back to the Australian people who are paying it. So it's a rort, absolute rort what's happening. As an idea of how bloated and inefficient the government's getting right now, there are over 1,300 government departments, sub-departments or structures and affiliated businesses and organisations. Over 1,300 sucking away at the government nipple, I guess, where the money's just splurting out of. Over 1,300 departments. Now, that's quite concerning. So, like, how many departments do we need to run this country? Over 1,300, and that number's growing by about one department every month right now. Maybe one will close, another one pops up, but there's just growth of government departments, and there's bureaucracy, it's waste, but there's also money flooding out of these departments. I think over in America right now, so Donald Trump, I'm going to talk about Donald Trump for a second. He was talking about clean the swamp, about government inefficiency, and he set up the Doge department, and he got Elon Musk coming through and doing a big cleanup of the swamp. I'll tell you what, you know, the swamp might be dirty over in Washington, but over here in Australia, our billabong is filthy and polluted. We have just as much waste, just as much inefficiency occurring right now across government. And we really need to have a look at that, because we can't turn this country around when our government is wasting funds and when the wealth divide is getting further and further, like spreading out further and further. You can't address that if the government can't manage its own money and keeps feeding it back through the system, where most of it ends back up in the hands of the rich. You can't fix it while we have this problem. So we need to clean out the billabong. The billabong is polluted in Australia right now. That's an idea out of them 1,300 departments, or department structures and affiliated organisations. Some of them affiliated organisations are based out of the Cayman Islands. So a question I would like to ask is, why is the Australian government directly affiliated with businesses registered out of the Cayman Islands sending funds across to the Cayman Islands, a tax haven? Why is that happening? Why is that directly connected to our government? Why is that allowed to occur? Why are you allowing direct payments to offshore bank accounts and tax havens? Good question, and I would like to potentially investigate that, or maybe I'm getting in trouble for saying that. Maybe you're not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff online. I don't know. I don't know. God, did I say something wrong? I hope not. Right, guys, if there's no more videos, that's why. Anyway, guys, there is just a rort occurring right now, and it's getting worse and worse each year. The debt's going up. The bureaucracy of government departments is becoming more and more, and the wealth inequality between the citizens of this country is getting more and more divided. And I guess to address it, guys, so these videos aren't a poor me whinge video. I know some of you read the titles and react directly to the titles without understanding what I'm doing here. What I'm doing, guys, is I'm raising awareness. I'm bringing things that are problems in my country to the spotlight for you guys to talk about in the comments. Talk with each other, leave your thoughts, leave your opinions in the comments. If you want more people to become aware of these issues that I raise in each video, hit the like button, leave a comment. It pushes it out further on YouTube's algorithm. But it's not about the growth, guys, it's about the message going out. And it's not poor me, okay? I'm the guy who turns around and works 3 jobs. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to figure this out, or I'm going to fucking die trying. All right, I'm going to throw my all at this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to, you know, create a life for myself in this country, and I'm not done fighting yet. Okay, I've still got some fight left in me. I think a lot of Australians still have a lot of fight left in them as well, and we're not going to roll over for the wealthy and for the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness of this government. We're not going to roll over. Okay, we're going to fight for it. We're going to fight for this country, because we got to. We got to. If we don't now, we are down to the tipping point, guys. 10 years time in Australia. If we don't start to get these changes in place now, if we don't get this in place now, 10 years, this country could be fucked. Okay, so we need to be aware of this stuff. We need to start changing these things. We need to start addressing these issues. Wealth inequality, that's going to be massive, okay? Government overspending, it's going to be massive. Complete government inefficiency, already here, but it's going to get worse. So we need to be able to address these issues. And how do we address it? Well, awareness. We've got to start talking about it. If we don't talk about it, nothing will happen. Okay, we've got to start talking about it. We'll start sharing it around. Start talking to your friends about this kind of stuff. What can we do? What are the solutions we can do? How can we start to change things now? Because I'm going to keep talking about this stuff, guys, because I want to see Australia win. I want to see Australia have a fighting chance in hell of being a great country like it used to be. But guys, I'm going to keep talking about these topics. I hope you keep tuning in, but the comment sections are yours. Leave your thoughts, leave your opinions. Have a polite chat with someone else in the comments. Talk with each other. Start raising awareness. Let's get on top of this, because we've got 10 years, guys. In 10 years, if we don't start fixing this significantly, you know, what's Australia going to be? Leave your thoughts down below.